Familiar sight today all over northern New England, skiers buying lift tickets. For winter brings not only the whiteness of snow, but also the green of money. It wasn't always so, however. The mainstays of the region's economy were farming and small mills. When winter came, it brought a harshness which verged on destitution. Farm families struggled through the long winter on what they could grow during a short summer. The Depression brought further misery to a breed of people accustomed to hardship.
The mills were the mainstay of the income that people enjoyed, and of course they deteriorated with the Depression years, as everybody knows, and moved out of New England to the south and left the thing practically stagnant, and a real renaissance had to come about, and it basically came about in recreation in the winter.
When winter came, bustling summer resort towns which supplied employment for local people became virtually deserted.
Because when I got here in 1936, they pulled all the sidewalks up around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The only restaurant that was open was the Quality Restaurant, and that had its limitations. Likewise, there was no place of entertainment. They had a little local movie house that operated once in a while, weekends only, I think.
There was some skiing during the early 1900s in northern New England, but it was mostly cross-country and jumping and contributed little to the economy.
Prior to the 1930s, there were a few crazy people who liked to slide down mountains on boards, but in order to do so, they had to first climb up. It wasn't until the mid-30s that the first uphill facility was developed. That was a rope tow on Suicide 6 in Woodstock, Vermont.
There followed, in fairly rapid succession, the development of lifts all over northern New England. The late 1930s saw the ski mobile at Cranmore Mountain in New Hampshire, lifts and tows at Bromley Mountain and Mount Mansfield in Vermont, the first aerial tram on Cannon Mountain in New Hampshire, and a handful of others. Ski areas, for the most, were built by the wealthy for the wealthy, who had the time and money to enjoy winter.
Most ski areas got built by rather wealthy people, like this one by Mr. Gibson. You look at Sun Valley by Mr. Harriman and Union Pacific, because those were the only people who had the capital behind them to build it. And I think most of them did it just for the fun of it, or like Mr. Gibson, he wanted to do something for this town to help them in the economy of the town, to try and increase their business just from just a summer resort also into the winter business.
Herb Schneider's father, Hannes, ran one of the first ski schools at Cranmore. He taught the Arlberg technique on a slope more crowded than most today. During the late 30s and the war years of the early 40s, more and more people began to enjoy winter. Ski trains made their runs from New York and Boston to ski areas in Vermont and New Hampshire. Skiing was still, however, not big business and did not substantially change the lives of local people. They still farmed or worked in the woods or mills and paid little attention to skiers, except perhaps to wonder why anyone in his right mind would willingly go up and down a mountain in midwinter. But the threshold of change was approaching, change in both the economy of northern New England and the attitudes of the people. Howard Nielsen for Newsroom 7.